Hi, friends. Um, Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor Hamza. Thanks for tuning in. Somebody was on just a little while ago and they asked a question. They said, what for heaven's sakes, or how do they pose it? What the heck, they said, is the Ascension? I realized I haven't really spoken about that before, so now's a good time to talk about it. When the question was posed to me, all this kind of, information just kind of poured into my head where I had it, but it's just like, unless you kind of ask me a question, it just kind of sits there. It's not coming out. So someone asked me about it, so let's talk about it. There's certainly the Christian ascension, which they said when Jesus, ascended into heaven. That's not what I'm talking about exactly right now here. So, and one of the catchphrases that I've been saying for a couple of years is, the ascension of mankind will not be televised. That's my direct quote. So, what is the ascension and what am I talking about? So, a number of years ago, back in, well, it's been a long time, but back in 2011, I definitely started pushing real hard myself to get more spiritually activated. And when I say that, like meditating a lot, praying a lot, started fasting and things of that nature, reading into the Bible and all those kind of things. When those things happen, you get this kind of information from your higher source, and I believe from angelic beings, and they, give you more information, and then it kind of data gets collaborated into the world, and you're getting the right information, not the wrong information. And that is a process that you kind of get into very deeply, because I'm well aware of being, how you could be led astray. So the first thing, as a truther, and worrying about these things all the time, is making sure you're giving out, and you're getting the right information before you ever would speak about anything. So that certainly is an important aspect of seeking the truth, is learning spiritual discernment and the truth from lies. So, pushing hard on myself and other people as well. We're pushing hard. Before the 2012, 12/21 2012, that was when the alignments were aligned, and that was a big deal. At that point, a lot of people like us, and when I say like us, like myself, were being very spiritual, and in the supermind that is mankind, we're pushing against the envelope of spirituality and spiritualness, and learning, and when taking from each other back and forth, and vibrating to a higher rate of knowledge. It kind of goes without saying how this kind of happened. It just kind of happens when other people are seeking at the same time. Being as it may, back then we were learning about, what is, higher dimensions. And that's one of the reasons where I posted, and I spoke about, on maybe one of my last videos or one before that, about black holes. So black holes are a great example, I felt like, of learning about higher dimensions from even 2 dimensions. So we're correlating the data between science and religion and everything, and taking all that, and then blending it in a positive way and learning from it. Being as it may, the Ascension was coined a phrase of what we felt, and myself as well in particular, of learning that we were going to actually go into a higher dimensional wavelength. So this is information that was given excuse me, still have a bit of a cough. This was information we were given years ago that we're going into a higher dimensional wavelength. When this higher dimension is transpiring, then we would have things like what's happening now, instant manifestation. You're having, multi-dimensional thoughts would be happening. We'd be seeing into kind of multiple dimensions. And at the time, we didn't know, what that would actually be like. And I was sitting there, imagining what multi-dimensional, what it would be like to be more in line with my other, me's that would be out there, and being in line with more of a higher dimensional self. And what does that mean? So there was a lot of conjecture about what that would mean, and we were given a lot of time. When I say we, again, a lot of people out there who were doing the same things I was, and learning, like, what would that be like, and preparing. So there was a lot of things that happened, before that. Then we had 2012, and things kind of felt like they tapered off for a while. With that happening, for myself, when I was, meditating a lot and getting into it, I was working a lot on it. I particularly myself, I had a lot of things, happen to me. I remember laying down and, saying I'm ready to be, whoever I'm supposed to be, Messiah or whatever it is, just to be my higher self, whatever it is. And, just being like, chosen, and being, positive, not saying I'm Jesus, but being ready, and being like, your highest self possible, being good, always, telling the truth, doing the right thing. And I'm ready. So, I laid down, I felt really heavy, and I felt inside myself, for instance, back in 2011, I felt like energy's happening, and everything was, happening within me. And I felt it energetically. When that happened, a lot of things changed. I got up after a while, and I said, I feel different. And thoughts came into my head that I had my DNA 12th strand DNA crystalline matrix was activated. So I never heard this before. So I said, 12th strand DNA matrix is activated. Okay. So I Google it. Never heard that before. And then on the internet, sure enough, there was only a few, things out there, but it explained a little bit more about what a 12th strand DNA, what that means. So what I understood it to mean, and there's always more to learn about it, is that there's, we really are only in a third dimensional, being. If you wanted to, engage with a higher dimension, you'd actually have to be more of a higher dimensional being. So the DNA that's above, the third helix strand would be, more of a 12th dimension, and it goes up, higher dimensions, and those dimensions would be more of a crystalline matrix, where it would almost be like you couldn't see it. It wouldn't perceive it physically, but yet you kind of can. So it meshes. And now a lot of the, back then we were talking about a lot of junk strand DNA. A lot of it was junk that they thought, and then they realized, no, it's not really junk. So I felt something happened on a fundamental level. The next day, I went down to, Midtown Manhattan, and I was walking around in broad daylight. I could see auras around people's heads. So I was like, whoa, that's really insane. So I saw bubbles around people's heads, and not everybody. So some people had a slight bubble, and I'm talking about in broad daylight. And then there was one guy I remember had a really big, an older gentleman had a big, halo around his head. And when I say halo, it's just like a bubble. So another bubble around the bubble. It was just one bubble, really. Really neat. And now, if I get into it again, I could see it. I've tried a couple times where you have to kind of meditate for a while and then you get back in that spot and then you can see it again. Anyway, so that was really neat. So it bore out the truth of what I was experiencing and saying. So when I say that the 12th, you have a 12th strand DNA that can be activated, it's true because that happened to me. And then the next day, I actually experienced what that could be like. So I'm only saying this for a lesson. I'm not touting myself. I'm saying to tell you that it's possible, right? So, what does that mean? When we have a 12 strain DNA, uh, the more DNA that you have activated, what I believe is the more higher dimensional that, being that you can be. And the people on the earth right now that have a higher dimensional DNA activated are going to be able to see multidimensional things. So, for instance, the Mandela Effect. So, if your DNA is activated, few strands, and you're seeing some of the Mandela Effect. If your DNA is totally activated, then you're going to be, knowing about that. So we're in a, scientists have said that we're in a holographic, reality. We're in a 2D or 3D, they've been saying, holographic, reality. So when you're able to, at a fundamental level, change yourself, and then how do you do that? And that's why I've been saying from the beginning of all my videos, I'm always talking about how you could do that. Meditation, breathing, I talked about that a lot, telling the truth, being positive. These are all things that'll help you to reach your, higher potential, higher self. So when you're into, like, for instance, you're seeing 1111, you're seeing these numbers, the numbers correspond to perhaps another you in another, multi-dimensional reality, seeing exactly the same time. You're syncing up with that wavelength, and then you're both vibrating to that higher frequency, and then you're both going to be, you're both going to be, meshing and being a higher dimensional self together. So the more yous that you sync up together, the more, that you're seeing into other dimensions. So with that said, they're originally, way showers and what they call star seeds. So there are other people, like myself doing this. I'm not, certainly the only one. And there's original star seeds, and then we have second generation, third generation. You have indigo children. There's a whole gambit of, information out there that you could Google. Being that if you're original way shower, it's like you're anchoring that higher frequency for other people. So it's like some people are more here as an anchor. As part of our mission is to be an anchor to bring that higher frequency so other people can, access part of it or all of it to help us. And the bottom line is that all this is, the ascension is all better for mankind to raise our awareness, raise our game, into, a higher dimensional frequency. Like, for instance, the Mandela Effect with all the beneficial aspects to the brain being expanded and heart being stronger and, our lives being expanded and the rib cage being stronger. All these things are, positive, aspects, which we were, basically told that these things were going to happen. We were saying that our bodies would get better, our intelligence would be greater, time would be being sped up. All these things I was, led to believe and understood that these things were would happen, and we were being prepared before these things happen. Now, for a lot of people, they're unprepared, um, and then they're wondering what the heck is going on. So, hence, I've been making some videos, and I've always been, teaching and trying to help people. You could help people and teach people just by being yourself. You don't have to, be out there in the public and saying all these things. You could just be, yourself, and how you are affects other people as well, even behind closed doors. So, a lot of that happens with a lot of people. When someone has the feeling and being guided to talk in front of other people, it can be a very weird thing, because a lot of the public, doesn't understand any of this, and then there's a lot of backlash from certain religions saying that that's all new age hocus pocus or whatever. Not. I'm definitely more into Catholic religion than I think most people that I know. And I'm just taking this to another further aspect into being more of a mystic realm, because I actually understand it more, and whatever it's the truth, it's the truth. So if something's true, then it's definitely true. You could put me down for saying that what I'm saying, but if it helps people understand, then I think it's worth it for me to go out there. And somebody asked me what the ascension was. So the ascension is the us pushing for us to be more in tune and more closer to God and source and the universe, and being more in line with who we really are as multi-dimensional beings. That's what the ascension is. So it is us being in tune more with ourselves, but being more in tune with our activating our crystalline DNA matrix. It's being more who you really are in this lifetime. It is shedding your negative karma. It is shedding your sins, taking Jesus as your savior, understanding that he's the one that could help you to release your sins, and being your higher self. And then when you're being more your higher self, understanding that there's higher dimensional and lower, dimensional, beings around you, but you're trying to just be, and you're working towards always being your highest self and being in tune with your higher self and your guides and with the angels, and using all that together just to help others, being more in line. And wouldn't it be great if we're all trying that together and being a world where everybody's trying to be good and helping each other? Then all wars would be ended, and we wouldn't, like, you wouldn't have to lock your car up, or your house or anything else, right? Because everybody would be, understanding. So it's that brotherly love, and seeking out love is the number one, positive aspect of our, reality. Anyway, just want to do, a video and explain that, because someone asked me, what's the ascension? And one of the phrases I coined, like I said at the beginning, is the ascension of mankind will not be televised. So it's something that I've been, wanting for years, and it's all the work you put into it, all the times you sat down and meditated or did yoga, or all the times you prayed, or all the times you fasted. Each one is like 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. But we're always pushing the envelope a little more collectively. So if one of us is enlightened, it can help a million others. So the more, if you're at a higher level, the more other people you're able to help raise, so that super consciousness is a way. So if you're like, I was saying to somebody like the other day, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I did 3 healings with her, and she stopped smoking. After 40 years, she's smoking 3 packs a day. And I said to her, it's so important for you to stop, not just for yourself, but you could be an example for someone else who wants to stop. And then I think she understood the importance, and that was something that helped her to stop. But now she's sharing her story, and now other people can stop. So it's a it's an effect. So it's like a ripple in a pond. So when that stone hits that water and it ripples out, we're trying to tell the truth, and that stone can ripple out, and that's what it's all about. It's being the plummet stone. So being the plummet stone, you're going into the water, and you're being connected to the higher source, to the lower source, and you're going into the deep water, and then that ripple is rippling out, and that ripple is the truth. So we're all trying to share the truth, and I'm not trying to self-aggrandize myself at all. I'm just trying to help, again, others, and trying to help you to understand things, and have fun along the way. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. If you hit, there's a little button, I think, if you want, when you could see when I'm doing videos, you could click it. But thanks for tuning in. I'm going to leave this one up as long as I can. Sometimes I feel the impulse to just delete them if people aren't ready for it, but I think you're ready for this information. So thanks again. I hope you have a great evening. Today's Friday. It's 1/11/11. It's 1/11/19, which is really interesting as dates go, right? So have a great evening. All right. Be the best you can be. Thanks. Bye.